In the vibrant city of Lagos, where the scent of street food wafted through the air and the sounds of Afrobeats pulsed through the streets, Ife's story began. A bright and ambitious undergraduate student, Ife's life was a constant struggle to survive. Ife's eyes scanned the cramped, dimly lit room, her gaze lingering on the worn-out furniture and the faded curtains. The air was thick with the smell of stale air and yesterday's cooking. She sighed, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her responsibilities. Her phone beeped, a harsh reminder that her rent was overdue. Ife's world was one of scarcity and desperation. Every day, she fought to stay afloat, to keep her head above water. But the tide was turning, and Ife was running out of options. Ife's stomach growled, protesting the lack of food. She rummaged through her bag, searching for leftover crumbs or a forgotten snack. Her hand closed around a stale biscuit, which she devoured in 2 swift bites. The taste was bitter, but it was better than nothing. In this world of struggle and survival, Ife's choices were limited. She could either give up or take a chance. And Ife was not one to give up easily. As Ife walked across campus, she noticed a group of girls laughing and chatting with a group of boys. They seemed carefree, their smiles and laughter infectious. Ife felt a pang of envy, wondering what it would be like to be part of their world. Ife's curiosity was piqued. Who were these girls, and what was their secret to happiness? She watched them from afar, her mind racing with possibilities. One of the girls caught Ife's eye, and their gazes met for a brief moment. Ife felt a jolt of recognition, a sense that this girl might hold the key to her survival. The girl smiled, and Ife's heart skipped a beat. In that moment, Ife made a decision. She would take a chance, join the group, and see where it would lead her. Little did she know, her life was about to change forever. Ife's heart pounded in her chest as she approached the group. She took a deep breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, can I join you guys?" The girl who had caught her eye smiled, and Ife's fate was sealed. This section sets the stage for Ife's story, introducing her struggles and her decision to join the group of bad girls. Ife's decision to join the group of bad girls marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. She was about to enter a world of excitement, danger, and uncertainty. As Ife spent more time with the group, she discovered that they were not just troublemakers, but complex individuals with their own struggles and motivations. There was Ada, the leader, who had a sharp tongue and a quick wit. There was also Neoma, who was quiet and reserved, but had a hidden talent for art. Ife was drawn to the group's energy and camaraderie. They seemed to live life on their own terms, unafraid to take risks and challenge the status quo. Ife found herself getting caught up in the group's antics, laughing and joking with them as they navigated the campus. She began to feel a sense of belonging, of being part of something bigger than herself. But as Ife became more entrenched in the group's world, she began to realize that there were consequences to her actions. Her grades were slipping, and her relationships with her family and friends were suffering. Ife's phone beeped, a text from her mother reminding her that she needed to focus on her studies. Ife felt a pang of guilt, knowing that she was disappointing her loved ones. Ife's loyalty was being tested. Would she continue down the path of rebellion, or would she find a way to balance her new life with her old responsibilities? As Ife navigated the complexities of her new world, she began to realize that the group of bad girls was not just a social clique, but a community of survivors. They had each other's backs, and they would do whatever it took to protect one another. Ife was drawn to this sense of loyalty and solidarity. She felt seen and heard, like she had finally found her tribe. But as Ife's involvement with the group deepened, she began to attract attention from the wrong people. The campus authorities were taking notice, and Ife's actions were starting to land her in trouble. Ife's world was about to get a lot more complicated. She would have to navigate the consequences of her choices, and decide whether her loyalty to the group was worth the risk. Ife's heart pounded in her chest as she faced the uncertainty of her future. Would she find a way to thrive in this new world, or would she succumb to the pressures and expectations? This section explores Ife's growing involvement with the group of bad girls and the complexities of her new world. The voiceover hooks and 100-word paragraphs aim to keep the reader engaged and curious about Ife's journey. Ife's life was a delicate balance of old and new, as her past and present collided in unexpected ways. Ife's grades continued to slip, and her relationships with her family and friends grew strained. Her mother sat her down for a heart-to-heart, expressing her concerns about Ife's future. Ife knew she was disappointing her loved ones, but she couldn't seem to stop herself. She was caught up in the thrill of her new life and the sense of belonging it gave her. One day, Ife ran into an old friend from her past, someone who knew her before she joined the group of bad girls. The friend looked at her with a mixture of concern and curiosity, asking Ife what had changed. Ife was forced to confront the person she used to be, and the person she was becoming. She realized that she had lost sight of her goals and values. Ife's past and present were colliding, and she was struggling to reconcile the two. She began to question whether her loyalty to the group was worth the cost to her relationships and her future. As Ife navigated this internal conflict, she began to realize that she had a choice to make. Would she continue down the path of rebellion, or would she find a way to reclaim her old life? The stakes were high, and Ife's decision would have far-reaching consequences. Would she find a way to balance her old and new lives, or would she succumb to the pressures and expectations? Ife's world was on the brink of chaos, and she was running out of time. She had to make a decision, and fast. Ife's heart pounded in her chest as she weighed her options. She knew that her choice would determine the course of her future, and she was torn between her loyalty to the group and her desire to reclaim her old life. This section explores the collision of Ife's past and present, and the internal conflict she faces as she navigates her new life. The voiceover hooks and 100-word paragraphs aim to keep the reader engaged and curious about Ife's journey. Ife's decision would have far-reaching consequences, affecting not just her own life, but the lives of those around her. Ife chose to continue her involvement with the group, despite the risks and challenges. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she felt a sense of loyalty and belonging with the group. As Ife's involvement with the group deepened, she began to face the consequences of her choices. Her grades suffered, and her relationships with her family and friends grew strained. Ife's mother sat her down for another heart-to-heart, expressing her disappointment and concern. Ife felt a pound of guilt, knowing she was letting her loved ones down. But Ife couldn't shake off the feeling that she had found a new family, a new sense of purpose. She was torn between her loyalty to the group and her desire to please her loved ones. As Ife navigated the complexities of her life, she began to realize that her choices had consequences beyond her own life. Her friends and family were affected by her decisions, and she began to feel the weight of her responsibilities. Ife's world was expanding, and she was forced to confront the reality of her choices. Will she find a way to balance her old and new lives, or will she succumb to the pressures and expectations? Ife's relationships with the group began to shift, as some members began to question her loyalty and commitment. Ife felt a sense of unease, knowing that her actions had consequences within the group. Ife's position within the group was precarious, and she knew she had to tread carefully. One wrong move could mean losing everything she had worked for. As Ife navigated the challenges of her life, she began to realize that she had a choice to make. Would she continue down the path she was on, or would she find a way to forge a new path, one that balanced her old and new lives? This section explores the consequences of Ife's choices and the challenges she faces as she navigates her new life. The voiceover hooks and 100-word paragraphs aim to keep the reader engaged and curious about Ife's journey. Ife's journey was far from over. She had to confront the consequences of her choices and find a way to redeem herself. Ife realized that she had been living in a state of denial, ignoring the warning signs and consequences of her actions. She knew she had to make a change, to find a way to balance her old and new lives. Ife's path to redemption was not easy. She faced resistance from within and outside the group. But she was determined to make things right. Ife began to rebuild her relationships with her family and friends, slowly regaining their trust. She also started to focus on her studies, determined to succeed despite the odds. As Ife worked towards redemption, she discovered a new sense of purpose. She realized that she had the power to shape her own destiny. Ife's relationships with the group began to shift as well. She found a way to maintain her loyalty and commitment while also pursuing her own goals and aspirations. Ife's journey was one of self-discovery and growth. She learned to navigate the complexities of her life, and to find a path that was true to herself. In the end, Ife emerged stronger and wiser, having learned valuable lessons about the consequences of her choices. She knew that she would always carry the memories of her past with her, but she was determined to use them as a catalyst for growth and change. Ife's story is one of redemption and hope. She proved that it's never too late to change, to find a new path, and to create a better future. This final section brings Ife's journey full circle, as she finds a way to redeem herself and create a better future. The voiceover hooks and 100-word paragraphs aim to provide a satisfying conclusion to the story. Let me know if this meets your expectations.